In this video, we're going to cover how to update your content. I'm going to walk you through 6 different ways to optimize your content to help it rank better. I'll also show you how to set up an update schedule in Airtable so that it automatically reminds you which pages need to be updated. Updating and improving your content over time is an extremely important part of search engine optimization. Updating existing content is actually a huge part of the work that an SEO does on a daily basis. Luckily, I've got tools and automations and apps and GPTs to help you streamline all of these tasks. So I'm going to walk you through these steps and the 6 different methods that you can use to update your content. So first up, back to Airtable. We previously covered how to set the publish date for your content. You're going to want a publish date column in your Airtable. If you don't have that already, go ahead and add one. And anytime you publish a piece of content and it goes live on your website, you're going to want to set your publish date. In my Airtable, I've got these 2 new columns. You're going to want to go ahead and create 2 similar columns as well. One of them is called Next Update, and it's going to show the date for when the content will be next updated. And this is actually a formula. I'll show you how to set that up. And then Update Level is just a dropdown for the level that you're going to do. I'll walk you through those levels in a second, but first let's get Airtable set up. So to create your next update formula, you just click on this little plus sign to add a field, and then you want to name it Next Update or something similar. And then for the field type, just look for formula and click that one. Then you're going to enter a formula, and it should look something like this. I'll provide the actual formula so that you can just copy and paste it. What this formula does is it adds 90 days to the publish date. The idea here is that every 90 days, we're going to check on a published piece of content and proceed it through the next update level. Now you can change your frequency. You can do 30 days. You can do yearly, whatever works for you. If you're not sure, I'd recommend just sticking with 90 days. That's a good time frame to allow for pages and traffic to accumulate, so you can get some data and see what's going on. Again, this formula will be shared, so you don't have to pause and type it all out. Just going to hit save. Now let's look at this document, which covers the update levels. So the idea here is that every time you do an update, you're going to proceed it through the levels. So the first level would be improving the user experience. The second level would be adding internal links, so on and so forth. So the first update will be this one. This will be the second update. This will be the third update. And you can make a copy of this document and rearrange it. You can set your own update steps. This is just the default. I've ordered these update levels based on their importance and difficulty. The first updates are actually easier to do and really important. As you work your way down the list, the updates are actually going to get trickier to complete, but they're still valuable and worth doing. Once you have your next update formula working in Airtable, you'll be able to put in a publish date, and the next update will automatically populate. That way we can create a filter that shows us content that we need to update, and I'll show you how to do that real quick. I'm just going to duplicate this existing view because I'm only going to need to change the filter slightly. I'm going to name this filter to Content to Update. And then I'm going to add a filter here. And instead of saying where due date is not empty, I'm going to change it to where next update is not empty. Now I can see the content that is due for an update. Then you can add additional filters and sortings. For example, you could sort by search volume. You could prioritize specific clusters. You could prioritize hub pages over spoke pages. In the future, you're going to have a lot of topics that need to be updated, so you might need to prioritize them. So now that we've got Airtable sorted, let's go through each one of these updates. So level 1 is improving the user experience. The reason that this is the first update is because when you're generating content with AI, this is often the thing that needs the most work. You might find that your content has giant walls of text, or that it's not formatted nicely. The faster you're creating content, the more likely it is that you're going to need this type of work on the pages. And there's a couple of key goals with this step. Number 1 is making it easier for the user to get what they came for. Every piece of content on your website serves a purpose. In my example, I'll be looking at this one here, which is a blog post on my website. So the purpose of this post is to describe a step-by-step method for how to optimize your title tags and meta descriptions with GPT for Sheets. So anybody visiting this page, they're going to be looking for a quick and easy method to optimize their titles and meta descriptions. So that's basically the page goal. You might remember page goals from the content briefs. Every content brief has a page goal in it. So you should look at that and make sure that the page is serving that page goal. A good example of this would be if you have a blog post that's answering some kind of question, and then you're not actually giving a direct answer to the question high up in the blog post. So here's an example here. Can an employer of record sponsor visas? If you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see that the answer is right here. So very little scrolling is needed to get to the answer. And a lot of people forget to do this. They'll make a whole article that answers all of the nuances about a specific question, and they'll forget to just provide at least one really direct, simple answer. So that's how you make sure it meets the page goal. The next three you can do simultaneously, basically breaking up the text and making it easier to read, improving formatting, headings, bullets, and other things like that, and removing fluff and giant walls of text. This page has already had that kind of treatment. Fluff has been removed. It's been broken up so it's really easy to read. Headings have been bolded. Spacing has been added. So it's easy to read this content. If your page is basically a giant wall of text that drags on and on about a topic, people aren't really going to read it. And I've got a content defluffer tool that'll help you out. So the content defluffer is just a GPT, and basically you just give it your text, it'll defluff it while keeping the keyword optimization, and it even makes the text harder to pass AI detection. This was AI detection before the defluffer, which said that a piece of content was 99% GPT, and after it was defluffed, it said 0% GPT. So I'll provide the link to that. It's really easy to use. You just add your text. There's even a walkthrough video for it, and that's the content defluffer. So those steps are all around improving the user experience. That's your first update. That's the first thing you should do. It should always be the first update, is just making the page better, easier to read, and making sure that users are getting what they came for. All right, next level, adding internal links. Internal linking is, if you followed the previous steps, you should already have internal links to your pages because of the link maps, but you can always add more links, especially once you have multiple clusters. The more content your site has, the more opportunities it's going to have to create internal links. The best way to think about it is like a points system. So if you have a highly relevant link that has awesome anchor text, that might be higher points. It might be a 10 out of 10. Whereas if you're linking from like a sitemap or something that really isn't that helpful, that might be a 1 out of 10. So you're always going to want to think about adding the high value links, which are contextually relevant. Creating a link from a sitemap is not worth the same as adding a highly relevant contextual link from one page to another with awesome anchor text. So think about those points. And then another huge consideration is to avoid linking out from your money pages or high performing pages. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying be very selective about it. If you link from your high ranking money page that ranks for high competition, high value search terms, and you link it to some random blog post, that's going to pass authority from your high value page to your blog post, and it could actually hurt the rankings of your high value page. So just be incredibly selective about where your best pages link to. And I've got a tool to help you with adding more internal links as well. It looks a little something like this, and it's really easy to use. So you just paste in the URL that you want to find links for, add the domain that you want it to stick to. You can even add exclusion parameters like that if you want to avoid certain sections of your site. And then you add keywords, one per line, and it's going to find up to 10 internal linking opportunities per keyword. Then you hit process keywords, and it's going to look for pages that don't already link to each other. So it's actually going to crawl the pages really quickly. And if the pages already link to each other, it's going to take them out of the recommendations. It even recommends where on the page the link should be added and a relevance score. And then for the anchor text, you want to keep it pretty close to the target keywords you're going for. If you combine this with the link placement assistant that we covered in the earlier steps, you can add internal links to your pages pretty quickly. So this basically says link from this page, link it to this page, link it in this area. This is the most relevant one, and this is the least relevant one. You don't have to add all of them, but this makes it really easy to find internal links. It actually just does site search operators at scale. So if you're familiar with those, that's what it's doing in the back end, and it's using the Google Search API. And it also crawls the pages to make sure they don't already link together. That's the app, saves you a lot of time. And that's the level 2, is to add the contextual internal links from one page to another. So after you complete your UX improvements, you do the add internal links improvement. Then your next one would be increasing query relevance. And that's just a fancy name for keyword optimization. The idea here is that you're going to go through some of the keywords that your page ranks for. And the best place to do that is in Google Search Console. Here's that same page. Can an employer of record sponsor visas? Hasn't really done too well over time, but you can see all of the keywords that it's been ranked for over time. And basically you can look at the queries in here. And if they're relevant, you want to optimize your page for them. If you optimize your page to have a better match to those specific queries, it's going to show up more often for those search terms and it's going to rank higher. For my example, let's look at EOR with work permit. I can copy that query and I can do a little control find thing. And I can see that EOR with work permit is not mentioned anywhere on this page. So I might consider optimizing the page to be a better match for that search term. And I've got a tool for that as well that I've linked to. It's got 2 different versions. One hooks directly up to your Google Search Console. The other one, you just manually paste in the keywords. It's fairly easy to use. You just put in the URL and the keywords you want to optimize for. It's going to scrape the page, count the occurrences of each keyword, and then it's going to help optimize for those keywords. Then when it's done, it's going to give you a couple areas where you can make the keyword improvements. Shows you the keyword, the current sentence, and the modified sentence so that you can go in and quickly make those changes. So this will take a lot of the time out of doing little keyword optimizations. And that's the third update you want to do. You want to make sure that as your page starts to rank for more queries, that you're basically looking at them and going, yes, I like this query. I will add it to my page. I want my page to rank well for that search term. That's not going to be true for everything that shows in here. So you just want to be kind of selective. It's not always going to be relevant. Like these 2 here are actually for specific brands, and I don't want to optimize for those. So you should look at the queries and pick the ones that make the most sense. The next update level is adding missing topics. The idea here is that if somebody is ranking higher than you for a search term that you want to rank for, there's a good chance that they've covered topics that you've missed. In my example here, we've got deal is outranking me for the same term. You want to check your rankings and you want to go up 1 to 3 spots. If you're on the second page, you don't want to compare against the first page. You want to keep it close to people who are ranking 1 to 3 spots higher, because the idea is that you're going to try and leapfrog them in the rankings by adding missing topics to your page. Then I've got a tool for that as well. You just enter your page URL and you enter 3 competing pages. These 3 can either be outranking you completely, or maybe you outrank them by 1 position. If you're already ranking well, that's okay too. Then it's going to provide an improvement report for which topics you could add to your page. And it's also going to provide improved text that you can then add to your page to help it rank better for the specific topics that you might have missed. Then level 5, enhancing with media. You might be surprised to see this so low down on the list. The reason is because the previous levels are really easy to do, and adding media to your page is actually more difficult. For example, adding screenshots might be easy, but adding informational graphics might be hard. You might actually need to get those created by a freelancer or something. So basically, adding media is more resource intensive, and you don't really need to add media until you've already got a decently performing page. If you tried to make every page beautiful with images and videos as you're publishing them, it would add a lot of extra time to the equation. So going back and adding media to pages that are already performing well, that have had the previous updates, is a much better way to use your time and resources. I've also got this media recommender GPT, so you can give it text or a URL, and it's going to recommend the types of media you can add to your page. It's just going to give you a bunch of ideas so that you don't have to think too hard about what you should add to the page. For example, it says adding an explainer video or a visual diagram or a flow chart, a pros and cons chart. It's just going to help you come up with ideas for improving the content with media. For example, I added this image here, which explains the different things that an employer of record can handle. It adds a nice visual to the page, and it assists in the page goal. So it's really important to make sure that anything you add to the page enhances the page goal. For example, it wouldn't make any sense for me to add stock photos of Hawaii or something to that page. So don't add media just for the sake of adding media. Make sure if you do add media, it serves some kind of purpose, which makes the page better. Then level 6 is getting backlinks. This is probably one of the more challenging upgrades that you can do because there's no guarantee that you'll actually get backlinks unless you're buying them, and that's always an option. It's up to you whether you want to do that or not. Google will always tell you that buying backlinks is bad and it's against their guidelines and such. The reality is a lot of businesses do buy backlinks. It's a huge industry. So again, it's really up to you if you want to do that. A lot of people who buy backlinks don't really know what they're doing and they end up buying really spammy links that actually hurt their website. In the future, I'll provide guides on how to buy backlinks the right way without hurting your website. But in the meantime, there is actually a way to get backlinks without buying them, and that is through guest posts. There's actually a lot of high quality sites that will accept guest posts without you having to pay for them. And I built this tool which will help you find guest post opportunities. You just enter your URL and your target keyword, and it'll actually find sites that are accepting guest posts for that topic. So this is an example for a golfing website. This is the post 5 secrets to a good golf swing, target keyword golf swing. And within minutes, it found a ton of different sites that are accepting guest posts that you could write about. And all you'd need to do is reach out to these websites and pitch them on the idea of a guest post, which typically involves finding their contact form and reaching out to them and saying, hey, I want to do a guest post for you. I'll cover more details on that in the future as well. And you might also want to evaluate the quality of a website to determine if it's junk and could actually hurt your website. I'll cover that in the future as well. For now, you have a tool that will help you find good opportunities, and that's really all you need to get started. Now, for level 7 and beyond, if you manage to do 6 different updates to a piece of content, that is amazing. If you run through all 6 of those steps and you're not sure what to do next, I've got 2 options for you. You can either set it back to level 1 and just run through the steps again, or you can check out some of my other content improving tools. I've made all kinds of tools that help you improve content because optimizing existing content is so important and it's such a big part of the daily work that SEO people do. There's always going to be new and different ways to optimize content and help it rank slightly better. So those are the different update levels for your content. And that was a quick overview of how to do each one. Again, make sure you don't skip out on updating your content. If you create a bunch of content and then you never touch it again and you expect it to rank, it's just not going to happen. Go back to your content frequently and update it. It's better to chunk it out in stages like this instead of trying to make a page that checks all of these boxes every time you hit publish. That would be much more resource intensive and it would take forever just to publish any kind of content. So it's better to get it up on your website as an MVP, a minimum viable page, and then optimize it as you go over time. In the future, your content to update list might be huge and you might have to prioritize. You might not be able to keep everything up to date. That's okay. You can prioritize content that's performing or content that's underperforming. It's really up to you. But if you're going out of your way to update your content every now and then, and you're doing it systematically, you're going to get a lot more traffic. Your page is going to rank better. and all of your SEO efforts are going to pay off at a much higher level. In the next video, I'll walk you through how to track your performance and progress so you can see which pages are performing and which pages aren't. See you in the next one.